quick hangout. Well, we've got a big storm coming tomorrow now. It's changed from just a bit of wind to maybe 100 k's.
Yeah, just take my cup in and we're back.
My windows are okay. Not worried about the rain, but wind, not good. See what happens. Did you finish your cuppa?
Yeah.
That's all right. That steak was nice. Yum.
You enjoyed it?
Mm. And the onions were delicious. Yeah, so we're expecting a bit of a storm tomorrow. But I just hope it's not a big storm.
No.
It's good in one way those bricks are in front of the windows, they won't fall that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just worried about that wind getting in under the plastic, that's all.
Oh, if they get wet, they get wet.
No, it's not that, it's pulling them over.
Well, they can't fall anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But we'll see what happens. Supposed to rain a little bit later, actually. 2 in the morning.
Oh, I thought you said 5.
It's supposed to be the strongest at 7 or 8 in the morning, I think.
Wow.
The camera's all fuzzy. I don't know why. Maybe I've got some butter on the lens. Don't know. See what happens. You win?
I got the games.
Oh, what are you betting on that?
200.
Ooh. You're killing it. Need the 3 and the 5, don't you?
Yeah.
Then she comes good. But you're getting a bit of a dud at the moment. So did you see JP's video?
I haven't been on YouTube since last week.
He tasted durian.
I
don't think he liked it.
You got to get past the smell.
Yeah, mind you. I've tasted it.
Oh, you either love it or you don't.
It's not something I'll revisit. I'll be
Same
honest.
as the dragon fruit.
Well, the dragon fruit's right. It's pretty tasteless. We hear Mark saying, "Oh no, it's got a good taste." I'm thinking, we've had heaps of it.
No, there is one. One does taste better than the other.
It's just very bland. Yeah, JP eating durian. That was funny. He's been to Thailand so many times he thought he'd give it a go. He did say in the video he took it back to his hotel, and hotels say do not bring it in. He put it in the fridge, and then the whole room stunk. That was funny. It's a weird fruit. I think jackfruit is better, or breadfruit. That's better. Hello, Lake. How you doing, my friend? Just saying to the missus, I watched JP's video about him eating a fruit called durian. And there's stinky fruit. Does smell a bit like sick. Has a fair old pong on it. But he ate it. Give him credit. I've tried it. I'm not getting it again. Yeah, it's a weird smell. I don't know if you'd say it'd be vomit, but it's sickly, pongy. and he took it back to his hotel, which you're not supposed to. Very good reason. His whole room stunk then. Well, it's a beautiful place, Thailand. I'd recommend it to anyone. We're lucky it's only about 5 hours away from here. And flights are pretty cheap. I think we can, like, Bali is probably 3 hours away, 3 hours and 20 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you get flights there for a $200 return. But we prefer Thailand to Bali. I made some nice, it's a cooking technique for cooking glazed and caramelized onions. Yeah, no, we're out in the veranda, there's no light on, the only light you're seeing on me is from the street light. But
Yeah, he's doing the corner.
what?
He's doing the corner.
I'm doing the corner.
He's standing on the street in the corner.
Oh yeah, working the street. Yeah, they're really good. You can do, actually what you can do with that, like what works out just as yummy is carrot and onion. There's a few other things you can do, but substantially they're the ones that work out the best. The carrot gets really sweet, not only because of the sugar but because of the natural. Yeah, ended up being very, very sweet, weren't they?
What's that?
The caramelized and
Yeah.
because you basically boil them in water with a bit of butter, and the butter fats stay in there, and they mix with the sugar after the water's cooked the onion or carrot, whichever one you want to do, or both. And then at the end it's glazed, and then if you let it go a little bit further, the sugar and the remaining fats from the butter caramelize, and they're just so delicious. I mean, I only did a handful of them. If you were having people over, you'd have to cook a lot of them. But they're yum. Something, it takes time to cook, so a lot of people won't bother. But they're just yummy. They go well with fish, prawns. We just had them with a little bit, well, I had them with a bit of steak. We've got a big storm coming, they're telling us tomorrow, which we don't want. It's not going to worry the slab, and it's not going to worry the bricks, but our windows, they're pretty secure, but depends how strong the storm is. Yeah, it's old ladies like to cook. Are you calling me an old lady? Are you calling me an old lady? No, I love cooking. I've watched that method for a while. The first time I saw that method done was with carrots. You've got to have them all about the same size. Because, for obvious reasons, they'll cook at the same time. And the onions were cooked, soft but still firm, weren't they?
Yeah.
So that's what you want to end up with, is something that's still got shape and taste. The whole process probably took peeling the onions, cooking them down 25, maybe 30 minutes, because near the end you lower the heat and you just gently move the onions around, because if you're a bit rough with them they'll just fall apart. But try it with carrots as well, Lake. It's a different way of cooking. It's a French method actually, so I'm told, hence the silly accent. We are people walking on the street.
I registered us for Halloween. I made the time that people can come here between 3 and 8, between 4 and 8.
Yeah, I think the last of them with.
It's not gonna start at 3. Because
Nah,
school,
5 o'clock normally.
Yeah, because of school. But
Wife's
then
talking about Halloween. Well, I'll just tell like what we can do. We register our home, and people can go on a website, and people know that they're safe to bring their kids to that house. So they get little bags of bits and pieces. We like doing it. It's always fun seeing kids dress up in ghost outfits and vampires, and
Yeah,
it's always fun. They have a good time.
School doesn't finish till 3, but maybe there's parents who have
Well, we've done it for
non-school-
years, and really it's about 5.
that parents might have non-school children start early, but I tick the boxes 4 till 8.
Yeah, it's good because what happens, like, is that mum or dad will drive them around, and they just simply follow the address. They punch in the address and go to the next one. And they've got a map on that website that allows them to see where to go.
And it stops people going to houses that don't want to do it and get abused.
Yeah. If we have someone rock up who's not dressed up, we're not giving them nothing this year.
Oh, that's mean.
What, you have half a dozen kids rock up and just say, we see you got lollies and we want some?
Well, some kids are a little bit... Some kids don't feel funny get dressing up.
Alright, I'll just give them an empty bag. Yeah.
Yeah, they do that here. Like, people do have Halloween themed barbecue or a little get together at certain parks, and that's registered as well. That then anyone's welcome to this one area.
Yeah, some people go to a park and they'll order a bouncy castle, cook up some sausages in a barn, and give kids little gifts, and they just have a good. Because really, it's really only between about 5 and 8 o'clock at night, and then it's all over. Well, that's what we've known.
Because I think it's on a Thursday anyway. When it's during the week, yeah, people don't go past 8 because they've got to get their kids to bed.
Yep.
For school the next day.
I just think it's good. I mean, this Christmas for kids, obviously.
I still can't find that other witch.
It's
One
in
that was-
it's in the shed, I'm sure. You mean the tall one?
No, that's under the bed.
You mean the one hanging off the letterbox?
Yes.
Well, we can have a look in the shed, but we can't get in there at the moment.
No, I know I got it off Em because I left it in her front room last year, and I said she wanted to use it, but she didn't.
Yeah.
And then I remember packing it all up.
Yeah, like I say, for kids it's a different experience than Christmas. Like, we get good bags. Like, there's probably
Oh, yeah.
3 or 4 good-sized chocolates in there, some candy, other stuff.
And we only buy
You know those money things you get wrapped
chocolate
in
coins.
chocolate coins? We put them in there.
We only
Probably about $2 or $3 a bag we spend.
we only buy or put in chocolates that are in an individual wrapper. Where years ago you could
Yeah.
just like put mixed lollies and people grab a handful.
No, we don't do that.
No, but these days with
Occupational safety.
yeah, and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, so we probably make up 30, 40 bags. That's what we normally do. And if there's any bags left over, we can have them.
Yeah, but it looks like we're going to have to go elsewhere to get some of that stuff because our little shop's not getting anything in.
Well, we'll go start looking now because, you know, it's only in another 3 weeks. But we'll get there. You can buy chocolates in bags of 12, like Snickers, Mars bars, Kit Kats. So we'll do things like that
Yeah, hey Death.
instead of the bigger ones. Hello, Death. Death was saying he worked out it was the Bassendean Dome. That's just off Guildford Road.
Oh, really?
Well, it's not that hard to work out. The grandkids love the train.
I love the
You wouldn't want to go there all the time, though, Death, because it's a bit pricey.
I gotta say, yeah, we mainly just go there for those iced.
Yeah, just the iced
those mixed
frappe type things.
And the meals are good, but every time we've ordered meals, they get stuffed up, and it's always one particular lady we end up getting. Bless her soul, but always stuffs it up.
Yeah.
And it's the one who served us the drinks the other day.
We actually lived in Mandurah for a while, and the dome there was pretty good. If you've been down to the Mandurah on that, that's pretty good. It's right alongside the waterfront. That's good. Except Byford.
Expend every single one.
Well, you get fresh milk down in Byford, Death. You won't get any fresher milk down from Byford.
So you do a dome crawl, not a pub crawl. That's funny.
Yeah, they actually started to die off. They were really big 8 or 9 years ago. They were huge, weren't they? Dome.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mandarin one was good.
My daughter put me onto these drinks that we treat ourselves.
I wouldn't have them every day. They're really rich.
I
It's
call them
cream on top,
frappies,
ice
but
cream.
they're frappe or something they're called.
Yeah.
They actually blend it together. Where when someone says ice drink, what that is the same drink, not blended with ice, and the ice is chucked in after, and you got chunks of ice in your drink.
I heard Seeds was dressing up as a wizard. Maybe. But at my age, I don't have to do much dressing up. The kids walk up and say, "Oh, he's scary." But it's a good fun night. Kids love it.
He's going to do his knees.
I don't know how. It's not huge in Australia, Halloween. It's not huge. Don't get me that. But everywhere we've lived, even in Riverstone, there was a few, wasn't there,
What's that?
for Halloween?
Yeah.
But it's not huge. Like we'll get about 30 groups of kids around, maybe.
Because we're on the registered list, that's why. See, because we were in Sydney last year, and Ingrid doesn't usually do Halloween, but it's because we happen to be outside and kids walk past.
Yeah. I think it's going okay. I think a lot of businesses like that would suffer during these times of economic downturn. We've got to be honest. It's not looking good in Australia.
Yeah, that's probably true, Dad. There might just be the odd one left because I've got to think. Could be wrong. I don't know if it's Red Dot or Reject Shop. I think it's Reject Shop. Has closed its doors in a few shopping. What do you call them? Shopping complexes.
Yeah.
There's only a few dotted around the place now, and I think maybe the same with Red Dot. Both.
Well, it's like, we went out to the pub recently, and I think there was about 10 adults, 3 or 4 kids, and that was a great meal. Don't get me wrong, it was great. And it was like only 260 bucks. But you go to a restaurant. We went to a German restaurant in Perth. It was really good too. It was just to 500. But I never complain. If I'm going out to eat, I expect a bill, you know what I mean? But I do like to save money when I go shopping. I know that sounds like a contradictory of terms, but if I intend to go somewhere, I don't mind paying the price.
Oh, well, we don't do it often.
No.
The 1, 2, 3, 6, the 8 at the German restaurant actually cost us 4.
It's close to 5, yeah.
Yeah, close to 5. And at your birthday, we had 12. Cost us
3 or 4 kids.
Cost us $4.88. I remember.
No.
Yes.
No, the meal I'm talking about was only $2.60. We had a drinks tab as well, but I'm saying the meal was only $2.60.
No, the whole lot. The drinks tab didn't add up to that much. It was quite cheap. No, the whole lot, meals,
Hello,
drinks,
Mel.
and everything.
Popping in on an ad break. You're probably watching some soap, are you?
Yeah, she's watching Bride and Prejudice.
Oh,
that show
God.
that you.
I don't like shows like that.
He does, Mel. He's not telling you the truth.
Really? I don't like them.
Dear. You're buffering. No,
So it's changing with the times, Death. We were just talking about Mandurah. Mel lives near Mandurah, and the dome there I always thought was pretty good. Had a nice little outside area too. We used to go there a lot, didn't we, on the outside.
Yeah.
Have a coffee. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's right actually, because somewhere I saw a dome and above, underneath, and you could walk through it or whatever, and there was a...
Did you tell Mel the good news about that puppy?
Yeah, Mel was the one who...
No, I mean today's update.
Yeah, Mel gets all that. We're
Oh,
all
okay.
on
No,
the
I didn't
page.
know. I didn't know. I don't do Facebook.
We're all on the page.
Had a nice Scotch fillet steak tonight, Mel, and I made a French method of making caramelised and glazed onions, and they were yum. Unbelievable good.
Yes, Mel is a hard-working little girl. Well, not little girl. Woman. Enjoys
Nice lady is Mel.
her free time.
She doesn't really have a husband. I think, she's probably killed and buried him years ago and just
In the
throws
chook pen.
references out to, oh yeah, my husband's cooking.
No, he lives in the chook pen.
Oh, lives in a chook pen, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get down there.
We're in Perth, yep, we're in Perth. Probably, I don't know, 15 minutes away from the Dome, in that general area. Had to let Bentley out. Oh, you're in the same area, cool. We've caught up with a few people, but it's not like, and Mel knows, we never press the point. That's not the point of meeting people. You meet because it just happens, organising like some people do these weekend getaways and houses with people you don't really know. It's probably not the best place to go. You're a few from Doom. Yeah, I don't need to know where you live. It's not important. TV's on. Back to the drama.
Okay. Enjoy, Mel. Oh, Mel's dogs. Ella, they're therapy dogs. I
Yeah.
don't know if you knew that, Ella.
Yeah, they're therapy dogs. Mind you, all dogs are therapy, let's be honest. Dogs give love unconditionally.
I'm going to meet them one day and give them a hug. And the chooks.
Did she say she was getting another chook or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't watch much TV. We're getting a bit of a blow tomorrow, Mel, so if you've got anything loose hanging around the yard, maybe you should tie it down. Oh, only Bentley's the therapy dog, okay. Yeah, apparently we can get 100k wins tomorrow. We've been lucky so far this year. See what happens tomorrow. I've got all my windows leaning up against the side of the house, but I put bricks, big piles of bricks in front of them and tarped them and see what happens. Yeah, we haven't got a dog at the moment. We haven't had a dog for 10 years. But I think dogs, when the missus used to work in a nursing home and I'd always go over there, and there's a few people with severe Alzheimer's or severe dementia, but they have a separate wing, as Mel knows. They're basically locked up, sadly. But a lot of old people, and I've always said this, they got great stories to tell, and I love a bit of company, and I like listening to them. And the truth is, and when you think about it, it is true, old people are just young people with wrinkles. Yes, the body stops working like it used to, but the brain inside once used to be in a young man or young woman's body, and they got big stories to tell. It doesn't take long when they get talking, is that they want to share stuff, and it could be about the kids. A lot of the time it's about their animals, to be honest. That's what I remember, because we used to take our Chihuahua over to the nursing home and a lot of them didn't want to give it back. Stay with me, I'll look after it, go on, bugger off, they'd say. But it's great stories, and like you hear things that, you just presume they're true. Things like, hello, buttercup, like what they did when they're young. Like, I remember an old lady saying, yeah, I used to fly aeroplanes in the 1940s and 50s, and just think that's incredible. It's what I call, while they're alive, God bless them, a living history. And I can remember conversations with my grandfather. He lived to be 104, and he's a great gardener, made a lot of his own stuff, butchered his own meat, made his own whiskey, you name it, he did it. But he'd have stories. He wouldn't often talk, a very quiet man generally, but when it came in the garden, he'd open up he wouldn't stop talking, but I would be listening intently. And he'd talk about how he used to make his own bacon, and showed me down in his cellar where it was kept and how it was kept. But it's one of those things. It's like he was born in 1895, I think. And so I have a connection. This might sound a bit weird. I have a connection with someone that lived their life 140 years ago, basically. And I remember the stories.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello, Nicole.
See, there's living history. He once got his driver's license on that.
Right, boot her. Just click right. I can't boot you on mine. Just get on there. Click and boot. Get her out of here.
No, he was born in 1859, remember?
But like I say, listening to old people, and I mean old people like 80 and 90, man, they've lived a different lifestyle. I mean, I'm 60, but really another 30 years before me, you're talking during the war, you're talking about still being on food coupons. I remember that conversation with that old lady in the nursing home saying and the women used to fight because some women were getting stuff off the black market.
More people should write down, because the next generation actually likes to hear it.
You're the last person born in the 20th century, not the 1900s, because it would make you 18 something. I was born before. I was born 59, so I was born just 14 years after the Second World War, and I remember all the stories. Our families used to get together. My mother came from where Nicole is, in Manchester, and there'd be 50 people around the house on the weekends having a few drinks, someone on the piano, but then the stories would come out. There'd be stories about their grandfathers. Like I'd be listening to my grandmother tell stories about her grandfather. So we're talking 1750 when he was born. But because she was connected to him, it's a living history. And it's just remarkable. I remember just listening to stories like there was an uncle who had a great ability to tell a story, and the room would just quieten, and he'd be telling stories about the First World War and things like that. So very interesting. But a lot of people dismiss older people. Like I say, old people are just young people with lots of wrinkles. But you're the last person born in the 20th century.
On Mum's side.
Yep. In the medical field, yep. My grandfathers both fought in the Somme, didn't know each other. But as the years went by, I think it was the 1960s, they released the information in regards to where the trenches were and the number and the platoons and all the regiments. And they actually were in the same area by about 150 metres. So they didn't know each other. Obviously, my parents hadn't been born, but these two men were only just a little bit apart. My grandfather on my mother's side would talk about the war a little bit. He got blown up in a train in France, and he had terrible injury to his heart. It moved in the socket. He lived to be about 78, something like that. But it's one of those things that he would talk about it. My other grandfather would never talk about the war. The only thing I ever heard, this is on my father's side, my grandfather, the only thing he ever said was somebody said something about the war, and he said, the only thing you need to know about war is crap food and wet socks. And that's all I remember him saying about the war. But it epitomises the fact that food is either unavailable or crap when you're sitting in a trench for months and people are shitting next to you. I mean, would you jump over the trench to go for a crap and then come back? I don't think so. I know that my other grandfather said, yeah, it used to be what they call the Highland Fling. I said, what was that? He said, newspaper wrapped around whatever you did and fling it over the top. Sorry about that.
Back to eat lunch.
I showed a little method, Nicole, in my last video on how to caramelise and glaze onions, little pearl onions or pickling onions, and they're so yum. I've always loved them. They're a process to make, but yum.
Okay, just checking. It's all right. I'll forgive you. I know you're busy.
What's
I
that?
know what it's like when you're looking after people. Nicole's going to do a video on that church. Remember when she did that street walk?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, David.
Hello, David. Yeah, like I said about old people, the stories, if you're willing to listen. Look, a lot of young people dismiss anyone even just 20 years older than them, but I can't imagine my kids, my eldest is 40 this year, when that he may now at his age start listening to stories, but generally anyone under 30 doesn't really give a damn. But there's some wonderful stories in each person. And old people, just think about what you've done in your life up till now, and then multiply it by 3 or 4. So there's lots of life experiences, places people have been during different times, during war, travelling. Some people I've met have climbed mountains, but you don't see it because they don't say it. But if you sit and talk to someone, yeah, you know what I mean, Death. You'll be in the rare group though. A lot of people tend to dismiss someone talking, they say, oh, the old bloke's rambling on, you know what I mean? And yes, look, a lot of people will embellish a story. There's lots of things that happen, little funny things, I imagine. But storytelling as such, for older people, is very easy. You listen to them just unfold. Whereas a lot of people struggle to tell a story. Now, there's a reason why that happens these days. People want to keep their anonymity. They don't want to divulge a lot of things. Walking out the door to go to work. Good on you, Danny.
Yeah? Oh.
Danny's coming and going. She's a busy lady, Danny, because she's in the Financial Lady Society.
Sorry if I'm missing chat. I'm just talking to Em. She might be bringing William around in a minute.
Our grandson, basically, well, one of them lives with us.
Well, it's
His mother and father get him every now and then.
It's just because we're supposed to get this bad weather in the morning, and he may as well just come tonight than trying to run from the car if it is bad in the morning, you know.
Yes, plus the food's better here.
Plus I could sleep in then.
I made him spaghetti bog today. He sat there and he'd finished it, and I said, how was that? And he said, out of 10, it's an 11. I thought, okay. You get the ability to listen and do with people. I've seen weird things. Yeah, look, truth is far more interesting than fiction. I imagine David could tell you that, as well as I could, that the truth is usually amazing. The lies are quite boring a lot of the time. But old people will embellish a story, and that's okay because they're trying to make it interesting. When you read between the lines, you get to see what they actually did and how it happened. But we're busy with the house extension at the moment, but I will get another computer and I will have a panel as such, maybe 1 or 2 people, but I want to do a series, if people are willing to do it, of just watch your story. It'll be as simple as that. It'll be up to you what you reveal, what you've done in your life, where you've been, things that happened. You don't have to reveal a lot about where you are, where you live, your phone number, your address, none of that. I'm not interested in any of that. But I'm interested in everyone telling their story, because you've all got one. And even if it's not your story, I've told you about my grandfather. So I'm telling a story that I heard, but from my grandfather, not from second, or third information, but direct. But there's a lot of great people that have been in my life as within yours. I've met some amazing people. I've met 2 prime ministers of our country. I've met some other very interesting people. And look, the thing that Australians do not do, I'll give you an idea. If Tom Cruise walked past my house and said, how you going? I'd say, yeah, good, mate. That'd be it. Just because someone is famous, or infamous if you like, or just, maybe special, a singer or something like that. The point of the matter is they're just people. Some have got great talent. but that doesn't make me lesser of a person with them, and doesn't make them better than me. I've met a lot of classy singers, and the point is just had a beer with them and a coffee. I had a beer with Bob Hawke. Death would know who Bob Hawke is. Great bloke, very down to earth, and he led this country for 8 years. But he was a real Aussie. He wouldn't bat an eyelid. And I met another Prime Minister. I told him he was a dickhead for sending my sons of my country to war.
I won't spray it.
Just walk over you. What's that? I don't know, don't worry about it. No, but it's like I say, I don't think anyone's more important than anyone else. Nicole knows clearly from me and my wife, I don't even recognise gender. I'm not interested. I don't care. I'm interested in the person. That's it. So you'll never see me fight a gender war because I don't recognise it. We're all people. We're all special in different ways. And I don't think people get it these days. There seems to be barriers being placed up for no damn reason.
You're buffering. You were buffering.
Was I?
He's not going to say it, Nicole. Oh, hey, V-Mac.
What's that?
Nicole said before she loves you.
Yeah, I like her too. Hello, V-Mac. We're getting a big storm here tomorrow, V-Mac. I'm actually phoning up the insurance company in the morning because I've got a certain figure on this house, and I'm going to increase it because of the storm coming for the stuff I've got leaning up against the walls.
Yeah.
Seeds is right, famous for just normal
be here
people.
in a minute.
Yeah, they are. Really? Okay. It makes no difference. I mean, I sat down with a bloke years ago in my hometown where I grew up called Geraldton, north of Perth, and his name was Dick Carr. That was really his name, Richard Carr, but everyone called him Dick. Now, I met him for years and years and years, and he is, when we say multi-millionaire, you can multiply that by about 100. He was incredibly wealthy. And he used to like to come down to the casino in Perth every year or two. And he came down one year, and he got drunk, had a great night at the casino, and forgot where his damn hotel was. I kid you not. He just lay down on a park bench and went to sleep. Well, the police pulled him up. He was a bit incoherent. They took him to the station, and he was like wearing a pair of old shorts, thongs, t-shirt, and a hat, not dissimilar to this. And the officer said, look, it's probably unlikely that you've got the money for bail, but do you know someone we could call? Well, he emptied his pockets. He had $58,000 in cash on him. And he said, I might be able to scrape in the $50 required. And yet, if you'd met him, you would have had the same assumption that police officers did. Just a bum. No, he told them the story. I got drunk. I forgot where my hotel was. It was a 5-star hotel, by the way.
I told him today about his phone.
You're talking about William's phone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so he's
I have to educate the
actually, I thought
Americans here. A
I thought
thong
it
in
was
Australia
carpooling.
is something you wear on your foot. A G-string is something you wrap around your ass.
Yeah.
Just educating you for your own, benefit. Yeah, no, Canadians call them thong. I'm pretty sure the Poms call them thongs. Mind you, a lot of Englishmen walk around with sandals and socks. I'm not sure why. Must be heritage or something. 58 grand in his pockets. All in big clusters. He'd throw money on the table and went and put it in his pocket. In the old days, you'd have cash for cash. This is in the early 70s and 80s. But now it's all chips, of course. Yeah, isn't it funny? You know what I'm talking about, Nicole? You got these guys running around and they've got socks on, long socks, halfway up their leg. And then they've got sandals and normally a weird looking t-shirt. And then they put a shirt over their t-shirt. So we can pick the Poms when they land in Australia.
Yeah.
So you talk, is that Mark, is it? So you're talking to him on the phone and Mark's here dropping him off, yeah? Just give me a couple of seconds, guys.
See ya. Sorry, well, we're muted. Oh, I'm muted. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I was muted. I was trying to show them the car.
Yeah, but that's not going to be for a while, is it?
Hello, I've kidnapped his phone. I'll just take you inside. So, I'm sorry I muted you. I was talking to the son-in-law and I was trying to show you the car. I don't even know who's in the room now. I don't know where my grandson's gone. Where's me boy? Yes, it's a... What's the car, William?
Camaro.
It's a Camaro. I'm so sorry I muted you. Who is that? Okay, is he single? No, that's... Do you want to say hello? You're too shy. That's the grandson's father. All right, I'll put you back. I'll put you back to seeds and I'll talk to my daughter again. Can Em hear me?
Yeah, but I'm talking to him. Just I'm trying to listen to what she's saying.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm listening, Em.
You get to meet. Yes. That's all right. I'll take care of the grandson. You can have him. I've just kidnapped the phone. I don't know how to turn the camera around, so you have to look at me. Let's see if he's finished.
Yeah, so she said it out because it stopped the pressure. Yeah.
So what's happening till Seed's back? I don't want to touch anything on here in case I disconnect
yeah,
him.
coming, so
And I'm
I don't know what's gonna happen
so
with the
sorry
game.
for muting
Both of those,
everybody.
we'll see what happens.
A button in the corner. I did it.
So is your little garden surviving?
I did it.
That's good.
Thanks, Ella. I did it. I turned it around. He's a cutie, my grandson, I tell you. I was muted before when you... I'm so sorry, and I was trying to explain to you that I was talking to Mark, and then I was going to... Just giving you a tour of the house. And that I was trying to show you his car, because it's a Camaro. And then Mark was trying to help me. I'll just take these out the back. I don't know what you'll see out here. Can you see all those mounds? It's exciting to start bricking the new part of the house. It's exciting. And the builders were so nice. They covered, you probably can't see, they covered our windows for us because the storm coming tomorrow. The floor, Nicole, that floor, well, that's actually getting ripped up, and that's going to all be floorboards. So this isn't going to exist here. This is going to be a reverse cupboard. This, and all this will be ripped up, will be floorboards, and that what you see there is getting knocked out, so it's all going to flow through. Yeah, it was very nice. Hey Susan, it was very nice that they covered all that up for us. So that'll be knocked out. So that'll be all be gone. And it'll be flow through to the dining lounge and then the 2 bedrooms off to the side. Hey Toby. Like I said, this here will have a wall across there and be reversed the other way. Alright, I'll give you back to seeds and I'll talk to my daughter. Ask back.
I've no idea what's been going on.
That's alright, I've just been showing the back of the house.
So I just want a quick look at this plastic. She probably showed you, but I'm just going to double check for myself if it's good enough. You won't see much. That's all the windows covered in the black. She might have shown you this, but I'm just checking. Yeah, that should be right. The weather will come from that way, so you'll get hit. But it might not be as bad as they're saying. Yes, I need my battery pack so I don't run out like I did. What are you doing?
I'm talking to Ed. That's so close.
Got a...
The wife of that good-looking man that they're watching. They said, oh, is he single? And I said, no, he's married.
There we go. A little bit of water. Yeah, we need the rain. Death and I and Mel would tell you that we don't get enough rain. It rarely rains. So we'll have the rain, just not the 100-kilometre-hour winds. Where is Nicole Green's bedroom? Well, she'll have 5 to choose from, David, so she's welcome to come over. No problem. Oh, maybe if I turn around you'll get a glimpse of something. There, sorry about that. I went inside and I didn't top up my tobacco, did I? Oh, I can go without for a little while. No. I think it's the same all around the world. Look, I mean, spoke about this the other night. Is climate change real? Of course it is. Does it happen throughout history? Yes, it does. G'day, Tony. My little budgie smuggler. Here you go, mate. The Warringah Warrior. I like the room with the slide window for the men sneaking by. Well, might be easier just not to have sneaking men. You know, just find a regular bloke who doesn't sneak. Just a thought. 2 degrees. Ooh, it's a bit cold. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm old enough to have a fair idea. From the 70s, or late 60s to the 70s, to the 80s, the 90s, and now, yeah, there's been a change. We have a lot less rain. Our groundwater is evaporating. It's getting deeper and deeper to dig a well. And it's getting hotter. In my country, the hottest 5 years ever recorded, and that goes back a long way, was the last 5 years. And we had cool to cold winter, but we're expecting a blistering summer again. But when we get 110, when it used to be 108, it's okay. But in Europe and in North America, they've felt this year's summer is definitely, you wait till the results come out, but it's definitely been hotter. I was actually in Europe in May, and in the English newspapers it was a heat wave. It was 24 degrees Celsius, but for them it was a heat wave. And I think at least people are recognising that the planet is changing, man-made or not. Forget about that argument. Just throw that away. It's changing. So our habits have to change. And we're getting more events, as in, our country never stops burning, by the way. You hear of bushfires and all that sort of thing. Well, at any given month, if you had a satellite picture of Australia, you'd see flames everywhere. We just don't stop burning. All right, mate. Catch you later, Death. But like I say, you can turn it into an argument, or you can turn it into facts. The planet is getting more extreme weather, without doubt, and I think we need to take note of that. As a species, this might sound ironic. If humans were rabbits, we'd cull a lot of them. There'd be too many, but we don't think that way. All the companies want to make more money, and they want progress, and they want progress ahead of stability. So I don't know where it's going. I mean, in my lifetime when I was born, I think there was under 3 billion people. Now there are 7.5 billion, and that's in my lifetime. Any other species who had a progress like that, they would be culling them. I'm not saying to cull humans, by the way, but my point is, in the future, people like Death, who's a young bloke, literally, may be given a card that says he is not permitted to procreate. A bit like the Chinese policy over the last 15, 20 years that's now stopped, but in other words, you're not selected to breed. Why would they do that in the future? Well, it's going to become an evil necessity. But I believe Mother Nature, in her wisdom, culls humans from time to time based on the fact that a pandemic can happen at any time on our planet. We've never been in a situation like this ever before, where you can hear the airport, which is about 5-6 miles away. If there was a pandemic and the person was leaving this aeroplane and going to Europe, and they calculate this out at the World Health Organization, within 24 hours, 8,000 people would have been in contact with that initial person, and then within 48 hours, over 2 million people would be in contact with people that were in contact with him. That's how fast a pandemic could spread. Every airport around the world would close after it started. Man, we're not actually ready for something like that. But it may happen. The planet is only so big, and we can cater and feed a lot of people. But even the ones we've got in parts of this world, we can't feed now. And it's not going to get any better. So is climate change real? Yes, it is. I'm not even interested in the argument whether it's man-made or not. I'm not interested. The facts are the facts. So, yeah, I remember when the Ebola, when the Ebola outbreak probably 4 years ago, it's been going on for years, by the way, and there's one now. There's another Ebola. Megan Fox, Seeds, are you okay? I'm devastated. No, I'm okay. But the Ebola sent shockwaves, because the impact of Ebola can be 24 hours, you're dead. A bit like the Black Plague.
I'm not a...
Ooh, cup.
I'm just still talking to Em.
What a nice cuppa, eh? Evening all. No, well, you're not going to be a part of that, vegan. Vegan cannibal? Really? There is no planet B. It's definitely real. There's no... If anyone argues that climate change is not happening, they're stupid. Why it's happening, I'm not interested. Solutions? We've got to be a cleaner species. We use too much. We eat too much. We waste too much. But imagine VMAX scenario. Cannibalism. let's be honest, in the group side chat, who would you eat? Would it be a man in a can in a van? Probably not. Let's be honest. Very little protein involved with that one. 1% has the vast majority of the Earth's wealth. Actually, it's got even a bit different than that, Buttercup. I think it's less than 1% now because some of the 1%ers have fallen over. However, there used to be a middle class. There's people old enough in this chat to realise that was true. There wasn't people living in poverty in the 70s and 80s. There were people that were getting by and, you know, had a car and holidays, but that's going. There really is only now rich and poor. And if you can somehow shore up your future, that you've got security by owning your own property or land or whatever you got, if he's Korean, I will keep him. Eat him or keep him, Nicole. But yeah, there is no middle class. What it is, it's like if you can imagine rain running over a limestone rock, and you call that limestone rock middle class. Well, it's just, you know, eroded away. And then down the bottom are the real people in poverty. But they don't get any of the flow. The rich people get richer. The banks have just become so greedy. In Australia, we just had an interest rate cut again, and the banks normally would pass on that interest rate reduction for people with house loans, mortgages. No, they don't want to. And by law, they don't have to, believe it or not. But the banks have become so damn greedy around the world. Probably the revolution you would see is the people, the 99.5% of us, who know we're being screwed, eventually say, we've had enough of this. And I mean this sincerely. You'd see a revolution occur around the planet economically, and the first buildings you'd see getting burned would be banks. People know the answer. People know what's been going on. So that revolution will be the banks burning. Of course, that's only a reflection of the people's anger. None of the banks have any money, by the way. It's all printed out on computers. There is no real money in banks. Maybe a couple of million if you're lucky. Yeah, our species has been awful, David. And I think it's due to a few things. Consumption and waste. And what people don't do these days is produce. I mean that sincerely. People, when I grew up, everyone was growing their own veggies, killing their own chickens, not supplying everything they had, if you know what I mean, but they were chipping in. Now no one does that. No one does anything. No one grows anything. No one produces anything. If you weigh up someone's working life, they go to work, press buttons, answer phone calls, do a bit of paperwork, file it, go home. There's no producing anything. It's repetitive, and it's like not tangible. You can't grab it. People work to achieve something, and that is just a paycheck. And I don't blame people, because people like me and you have been herded into these positions by the people that own the planet. I've always said, and if I was going to be your revolutionary leader to change the world, this is the first step I would take. I would ask you all to do nothing. Great strategy, isn't it? I ask you all, get on the megaphone, people of the world, do nothing. Because if everybody didn't go buy food, didn't go and top up gas, didn't spend any money, just sat at home, watching a video maybe, and did nothing, the wheels of the economy would fall apart in 30 days. And who would lose? The people at the top, because they rely on the people at the bottom to consume. We have more power than you can possibly think. And the solution to bring them down is as simple as doing nothing. People often thought, you're crazy. I'm not. You just need to understand what I mean. If you put a spoke in the wheels of the economy The only people that get affected are the people at the very top. People down the bottom are used to hard times. Everyone down the bottom can store enough food for a couple of months, no problem. Rice, beans, eggs, flour, no problem. People at the top eating caviar, sitting on their oak tables with their feet on it, smoking a cigar, big fat Cuban one, would say, what's going on? How come we've got no money coming in? The people at the very top of this planet are more susceptible than you can possibly imagine. But the secret is not to attack them, try and hunt them down. The secret is to stop playing their game. Is anyone going to listen to me? No. But economically, if you did nothing, you'd crush them. If you can consume less and produce more, two things are going to happen. One, there's going to be more money in your pocket. Two, you're probably going to be healthier. Do we really read the labels of these multi-corporations that put food in packaging? Not many people. To really own your home on land? Not really. No, that was changed thousands of years ago, David. But you're right. But it is better to own your own home and to manage your finances to the extent that you're comfortable. Never really wealthy, but comfortable. Yep, you can go buy a tent, a boat, pay the tax on the purchase price alone, and that's done. But it's very hard to produce anything if you're living in a boat, other than maybe catching fish, which I did for years, by the way. There is no real solution. I mean, if I told you how you can actually pay your land rates or charges, whatever you call them in the US or the UK, it is to have a sum of money sitting in the bank drawing enough interest that keeps that sum of money at the same level, but the interest pays for your land rates every year. That means it's a lump sum, it sits there, and you calculate the increase over like 10 years being 5 or 6%. You inbuild that into there. So what happens is that little lump that you've got there, you can always grab it if you want to, but that takes the pressure off people in paying their rates or charges or taxes. That's one way of doing it. It's a smart way of doing it. I mean, alone this year, GST, which is a goods and services tax in Australia, I probably paid in GST alone $80,000 in GST, and that's how it goes. They just keep grabbing it. You don't see it back. It doesn't come back. All right, Nicole, I'm going to have your lunch. Open the door, leave the window up. You never know. Someone might wander by. Hello, Nicole, you there? I like you too. Enjoy your lunch. Yeah, actually we have a separate levy for our healthcare. It's called a Medicare levy in Australia, VMAC. It's 1.5% of your income. So if you earn $100,000, you'll pay $1,500 in Medicare.
I'll see you, Nicole.
But however, Medicare means that if I, like you saw Tucker, had an operation that in the US probably would have cost $500,000, I imagine. For him it would be nothing. For me it would be nothing. So we have a levy to pay, but if someone's only earning $10,000 a year, they only pay $100 in Medicare levy. Pretty fair system. So if someone earns a lot of money, they pay a lot more because the percentage just sounds bigger because they earn more money. But the healthcare system in America is crap. Why? Well, it's so procrastinated, it changes from state to state. The federals are always arguing about levies, about how much they're going to give the state, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not a socialistic system to take 1.5% of your income away each year and have full medical. I mean, I had a friend in Maryland who moved to Pennsylvania because of the Obama levy. He went from something like $4,000 up to about 18 or something ridiculous with all his kids. He just couldn't afford to live in Maryland anymore. Well, in my state, in Western Australia, there is no tolls. We've been fighting them for years. But in other states of this country, driving from where we used to live in New South Wales from a little city called Richmond into Sydney was about 45 kilometres, about 30 mile. And going one way with the tolls, $52. Going back, $52. Just to go into the city will cost you, in Australia, from where I used to live, $104 a day. Private enterprise. Give me the money. It's true, I'm not making that up. And then if you're fortunate enough to find a parking bay at the airport in Sydney, it's $20 for every 30 minutes or something like that.
Oh,
I think a
it's
day is like
expensive.
$100, but $20 for every 30 minutes. So most people just pull up to the edge of the airport, throw their passenger out, say, see ya, keep driving. We don't have any tolls at all in our state because everyone's been fighting it here. We don't do daylight saving in my state. Why? Because everyone's been fighting it here. We don't want it. You know, you don't get an extra hour of, this argument, you get an extra hour of sunlight. No, you don't. When I had the first attempt, and they actually forced it in our state for a year, I told my drivers, I had a soft drink company at the time, and they said, oh, none of us like this crap. And I said, I tell you what, instead of starting at 7 o'clock, when it comes in, you will come in at 8. And they said, brilliant. Everyone in the state did the same thing. They just started an hour later, which in fact was the same time. Do you know what I mean? So we just said no. And then they tried one more time and they had a vote, which was a silly thing to do. 87% of my state say stick it up your bum. So it didn't happen. All the other states do. Strange. And we don't have any tolls.
Oh, in Perth we don't.
Not in
No,
WA.
but Sydney they have.
I just told about Sydney.
Yeah.
Cost you $104 going to the city and back.
Well, Sydney's infrastructure is falling apart. I mean, they've got bridges that go nowhere. There's bridges
Yeah.
and roads that just stop in the middle, in the air of nowhere, and underneath or across is actual roads that are finished, but they can't finish the bridges because there's nowhere for it to go.
No.
It's pretty bad.
All right, Buttercup, have a good one.
See you, Buttercup.
I just find the fact that if you have to pay a toll, something's gone wrong. What do I mean by that? In other words, people have mismanaged the state or federal funds in regards to roads maintenance. We all pay, like David said, we pay taxes at the fuel pump every time. That's supposed to go to roads and maintenance. Then you get hit for a toll.
Well, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is looked after. That's about the only thing.
It's-
And that's a toll across there, which was some of the toll areas were supposed to not be tolls anymore. Remember? When
Yeah.
they paid a certain amount?
Yep, well, actually they stopped one, and then they added another bit of road to it, and they put it back in again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just got to the point where it's unfair on such a high level. You're paying enormous sums of money in, this is yours?
Yes.
No, this is mine. In
No.
taxes, but they're being frittered away by people who mismanage your funds. I mean, I don't want to bring this up. National debt for the United States is never going to be paid. When did that happen? Yesterday? No. Probably 30 years ago was the point of no return. It's never going to be paid. The only way that America could ever pay its debt off is to start a war, particularly with the people they owe the money to. Well, deception, smoke and mirrors, Ella. It boils down to the fact that if you don't need to know because we don't want to tell you, and you're quite happy living in oblivion because you don't know, that's how they like to keep us, like mushrooms. In the dark and fed bullshit.
That think yours is in your pocket.
There is an answer, a little answer, and the little answer is try and produce more of what you consume. And with the seed company I've had for years, I've always said to people, just grow the foods that you normally eat, and that's between 7 and 10 types of vegetable. That's the same for everybody. More in some cases like VMAC, but my point is VMAC would understand what I'm saying. You only need to be an expert in growing the food you eat. If it happens to be 10 types of vegetable, get very good at it. Now, a normal basket of vegetables for a week in Australia is about $70. That's what it is, because tomatoes can be like $10 a kilo. Celery always amazes me. Celery is like, for a bunch of celery is like $4. But you can grow your own cucumbers, your tomatoes, your carrots, your onions, your garlic. You can grow all that and become very proficient in doing it. Then you don't have to pay for that. Then if you've got a veggie garden, you'll have little dip bits that come out of the veggie garden and the kitchen. They can feed chickens who lay you eggs. Great deal. Brilliant deal. Left over from the garden and kitchen, feed it to the chickens, they give you eggs. Tick that off. Tick that off your list. How many chickens do you need for a house of, say, just 2 people? 2 or 3. That's all you need. And a lot of people won't grow their own veggies because they'll use these words, believe me. Oh, it's incredible here, David. I should do a video soon about vegetable prices. It's unbelievable.
Well, you just got to be careful because a lot of the supermarkets here don't like you filming in there. So I was trying to do it sneakily.
Well, we'll do
the
what we have
workers
to.
don't mind.
Hello, Monchichi.
They much are cheap, but the it's the actual company owner, Coles, don't like you.
Now, I understand what you're saying, B-Mac, but there's always a little bit you can grow. Like garlic in Australia is something like, good garlic is probably close to $50 a kilo. Easy.
Australian garlic, because I won't buy overseas garlic. I only buy...
I can grow 2 kilos of garlic each year, which I will do, and I'll braid it and I'll store it and dry it, and that would be worth over $100. We use a lot of garlic, by the way.
Yeah, I can't always get Australian fresh garlic. If I can't get it from someone local, then I have to...
All right, V-Mac, you name a vegetable and give me your price, and I'll tell you what our price is. That would be the best way to do this, so you get an understanding.
It does depend on the veggie, though, and the time of the year here.
One things that aren't expensive are things like carrots. They're pretty cheap.
Potatoes.
About $1 a kilo. Potatoes are pretty good.
Twice a year they give potatoes away.
Yep, our state grows a lot of potatoes.
That's cool.
It can be $8 a kilo.
But it can be down to...
If it's peak season,
$4.
it'll drop.
I've seen it down to $4. I don't think I've had...
The wife would buy every 2 days a punnet of blueberries. That's why we're going to grow blueberry trees.
Because I love them.
And they can be between $3 and $6 for 250 gram. No, parsnips.
Parsnips, well...
$11 a kilo.
They're expensive here, Vivek.
$11 a kilo for parsnips. I love them, but very expensive.
We go to a greengrocer so we can get a better price, but sometimes if he hasn't got what we want, then we want it, well then we do get it from the supermarket, but otherwise we go to an independent greengrocer.
Yep. But it's one of those things, it's the relative cost of living is based on what you're willing to spend. People say, oh, what do you mean?
Check the boy.
If you're willing to grow some of the veggies that are expensive, chilies or peppers, hot peppers would be $30 a kilo, up to $40 a kilo. I can grow 10 kilo of chilies, no problem at all. And it costs me nothing because I save my own seeds. But I suppose you need to like gardening, first of all. But if you've got a garden, like I say, you can have a couple of chickens, 3 chickens. You'll have more than enough eggs. 3 chickens will give you well over a dozen eggs a week. And eggs in Australia, we buy organic. They're minimum $5 a dozen, minimum. A gallon of milk is $3, $3.50 I think actually. So it's comparative to what you're willing to spend. If you're willing to spend $40 a kilo for peppers, well then you are willing to do that. If times, like I'm not a doomsayer, you know me, I don't believe in that, but if times happen to turn really bad, the one thing that a lot of people lack is knowledge. I mean the real basics, water, food. People don't have a lot of knowledge. If the power went out in most places in Australia and America, all that would happen is people would scream and shout. Their food go bad. Well, you can just freeze peppers. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. Everything's variable for seasons, of course. Like when oranges are out of season here, they can be $4, $5 a kilo. In season, they could be like $1 a kilo. Chickens are one of the best bug controls you will ever have. You know, you might walk around your house one day and say, whoa, a few spiders there. There won't be any comment like that if you've got 2 or 3 chickens. Delete them all. Good protein. Regular eggs go for about $1.99 organic. Start around $3.99 a dozen. Cheapest organic eggs are $5, David.
I was trying to see
up
if
to $10 for a dozen. Seriously.
Had catalogues, but we haven't. I don't know if there's any junk mail in the mailbox. I'll have a look.
There's one of those things years ago, David, I'm sure you grew up with the same. There was chickens everywhere. Everyone had gardens, everyone had chickens. It wasn't if or but. You know, if someone didn't have chickens or a garden, we'd say, what's going on here? And then you'd learn he was a banker. He didn't need to have a garden or chickens. But the truth is now, you're right, some ordinances in different towns say, no, you can't have chickens. Or they do things like, yes, you can have 3 chickens, but you've got to build a coop 20 feet inside that corner, 20 feet away from the fence, basically in your back, back veranda area. And they say then you can do that. But people just ignore them in Australia. We still have chickens.
Depends.
We still have. Well, we're going to get about 3 chickens.
It depends where you live and how many chickens you're allowed. I think we're only allowed 2.
No. You can have 6.
Man, I wouldn't put 6 here.
No. But we know how many eggs you get out of 6 chickens. Too much. 3 chickens on average. Of course, there's an off season. Everyone's aware of that with laying. But we don't have severe winters like you guys do. But you're talking 3 chickens on average, 2 eggs a day. So 14 eggs a week.
I mean, as far as dry goods, there's a lot of cheap shops where we can get that stuff cheap. But yeah, your fruit and your veg. It's like, what do I pay for those apples I buy? They do up packs here for kids, so they're smaller, easier
about $5.
Easier
about
to
6
eat,
apples.
eat fruit like pears, apples. They call them kids' lunch box apple pack or fruit. And
Smaller apples is what you're saying.
yeah, and there's about 8 to 10.
7 tops. No,
10, yeah,
it's not that big.
yeah. And they're $5, but that's not
We've
bad.
got our neighbours' chickens that always come and say hello to us. No one really worries about that. I mean, if a chicken went too far, there's going to be a tomcat decide to have a meal. Yep, beefsteak. We've got about 4 or 5 different tomatoes in this year because I'm growing a little garden for Awesome Hooker, which I haven't seen for a few days. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, she's just taking a break.
But you don't look. I wouldn't grow any more, David, than probably 10 tomato bushes anyway, because you get so many damn tomatoes. Now, people that put in 50 tomato plants, you're mad.
Actually, that's the only thing we've got to watch. We do have 2 feral cats that come around.
Yep.
I have to watch them if we get chickens.
That's it. That is a tiny little garden, David. When I get started, probably by this time next year, in my raised garden beds, there'll be about 5 of them, and then you'll see a garden.
Yes, chickens.
I like throwing lots of shit and good organic material in there. This soil is terrible. I don't expect much out of this garden.
Look at the side garden here.
Yeah, no,
that
I'm going to
was
get
just-
much out of that.
That was to give us something to do while the house is getting built and to try and make the front yard look a little bit respectable.
Oh, it was money for hooker.
awesome. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was fun doing it.
But look, I've always said, even a bad gardener eats well. In other words, if you didn't do any garden, you wouldn't get anything out of it at all. But your garden and your plants have a mind of their own. Some may survive, some may not. But even a bad gardener can go down the back and pull out something from his garden.
Oh, that's good to hear, David, that she's done a
Apples expensive
revamp.
because of the hurricane. Actually, bananas in Australia is the big one because they're all tropical here. We get a lot of cyclones. I think it was about 10 years ago, massive cyclone wiped out all of the banana crops, and they went from like $1 a kilo up to $20 a kilo.
That's a car or a motorbike?
It sounds like a car, actually. At the grotto tomato, the pomodori, eh? See?
Well, we won't.
Tomatoes from your own garden, you just can never beat. You just can't. And I know David knows, just like me, he'd go down his garden, big beefsteak, knife in hand, a little bit of salt and pepper, just slice it up, nice thick fleshy slice. My favourite is brandy wine. I like beefsteak, don't get me wrong, but brandy wine is my favourite, or ox heart. They're just a magnificent tomato.
Right. It's just went funny. The pressure just changed.
Something about she's blocking all the fools on
No,
her
VMAX
social
won.
media.
VMAC wants it to.
Who are we talking about? We're talking about Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I found the most powerful tool ever in stopping someone's ridiculous behaviour is just to ignore them. I assure you, people that go around and just make mischief for other people, if you ignore them, they hate it.
Yeah, she'll be back. She just needs a breather. But we won't do it tomorrow because the weather's a bit crappy. Might not go to the shop.
Tomorrow there may not be a garden if that storm
No, I'm
hits.
just thinking that you do a video on showing our veggies and the prices.
I knew a guy that used to work in a storeroom in Perth here years ago, and all the tomatoes that were grown in my district, beautiful. They used to pick them, they were just, not quite red, but nearly red, and they'd bring them down to the storeroom here and pack them in crates, and they'd fill up the storeroom, and they'd pump it with carbon dioxide. And those tomatoes would sit there for, I'm not kidding you, 6 months. So in the middle of winter, out they'd come, they would get a spray and a wash, and those are the tomatoes that you were talking about, Ella. You cut them, and they're like cardboard.
I like nice fresh tomato cut up thin on a piece of toast with unsalted butter and red onion and salt.
Yep, I'm like David, I like
Raw-
olive oil,
Yeah,
sea salt.
raw red onion on tomatoes on toast. Yum.
I tell you what, our olive Australia is pretty damn good.
Oh, that reminds me, we've got those. What are those tomatoes I like?
They are a hybrid. You could save the seed, but you're not guaranteed to grow the same tomato.
No, what are they called?
They're called Kumato, Kumato.
Oh, I love
A
the
Kumato, which is
love
a
the
hybrid,
flavour.
which I don't like. I like the
No.
taste of them, but I don't like the fact they're hybrids. They're sort of a sweeter tomato.
And my favourite apple is a golden delicious.
Yep, basil, mozza drizzle with olive oil, nice. Even a bit of buffalo mozzarella, olives. That's my kind of food. I could sit down with a table full of all these pickles and cheeses and some nice crackers. And we call that a meal. In German it's called a Faschba.
What did we watch the other day where someone makes cheese from, what do they milk? We found it really unusual. Watching the show Cheese
They were
Slices.
goats. They were
No,
goats.
not goats. It was an animal. I thought, oh my god, they milk that.
Well, you can milk horses if you want to.
No, I know, but they actually, not a llama. I think of it.
You don't want to alarm people. Yeah?
You watched the show with me.
Yeah, you'd have to get a grove that's been bulldozed for quite a number of years. It's a very twisty type of timber. Well, I used to have about a dozen really old olive trees, and they were put on the border of me and my neighbour. I had about 3.5 acres, and we just shared them. And the beauty is that these were really old, and that's the sort of tree that you'd be after. It's a weird looking timber, Monchichi. Yeah, David might be able to get you some. You're probably looking something either just above the root, probably about 2 foot from the ground, up to about 5 or 6 feet, and then it starts getting really twisty. But these, I wish I'd taken photographs of the olive trees. They would have been easy 30 feet high, I'm not kidding. So really old. Mind you, the tap roots went straight down into a natural riverbed, not that far below, so they were never short of water. It's good having, like I say, Monchichi does a lot of wood turning, but to have the ability to have different types of timber. You'd love our hardwoods. Marri, Carri, Jarrah, they're all in my state, they're natives. You'll see Monchichi when we put our floorboards down inside the house. It's all solid timber, inch thick, Jarrah. And when I finish finishing it, you'll see the colours, you'll just fall in love with it. I'm sure you've worked with a bit of Jarrah though, haven't you? It is native to Australia. I'll tell you what would be a good thing. I know it's a time factor, Monchichi, but if you could get, say, one of your bowls down to rough cut, that needs another half hour or hour to file down and carve, that'll make a good live stream, I think. What do you think?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean, mate? Just
It's relaxing watching that sort of thing, like glass blowing actually.
just get
Watching wood being turned, yeah.
Just get it to rough cut, which means you've got a semi shape, and then people watching you turn.
So what sort of olives are they, David? What's the ones I like? The only ons I eat?
Rings, gallons of homemade olive oil. Yeah, the thing about virgin olive oil, it's usually quite dark, and you know you've got the good stuff. First press, basically, what I'm saying. You get a lot of presses out of olive. The first press is the mate of mine up the road. His dad used to press his own olives, then use a centrifuge. I was just absolutely fascinated. I thought these things coming off a tree, how'd you get all this stuff out of it? Yeah, same here, VMAC.
Yeah, we can't.
No wood at all is permitted.
Unless it's treated.
No, it's got to be...
And there's certain ones you can bring from certain countries, because I bought in wooden items from Germany and they let me through.
It's very rare.
From the Asian countries, got no chance.
No, they're pretty strict in Australia. Our quarantine is severe.
Yeah, but like I said, I bought wood from Germany and got it through.
You can bring certain foods into Australia, normally if they're commercially made, packaged.
In the package originally.
Not like some of the Asians that will bring back, like, wrapped up eel, dried.
But when my sister comes here to visit and goes back to Indonesia, she takes a lot of food back with her. And she takes it out of the package and buys containers to put them in, because it's less weight, especially coffee.
Yeah.
So it's out of heavy glass jars. They don't question her. She's got all these containers full of all this food that's not labelled. And yeah, goes through, not a problem.
That's what I was going to ask you, Monchichi, because a friend of mine used to be a wood turner. A long time ago, he's no longer here, but he used to have something that he'd try and release the tannin. And there's tannin in all timber. whether it's new or really old. Monchichi knows what I'm talking about. If you can release the tannin, you end up with a drier product. It's leached out a lot of that tannin, and the cracks apparently are less. There's a product actually in decking. You know, when you put timber decking down, hardwoods, they'll clean it, but there's also a chemical that brings out and leaches the tannin from timber. I don't know whether that would help you. No, I certainly wouldn't put a GoFundMe. I've always said if you need money, just stop spending it and start earning it.
You missed the chat before. What
Have
it
I?
was, yeah. VBAC saying David better not do anything illegal, otherwise we'll have to do a GoFundMe to get him out of jail.
No,
And then I said
if David's like me, he'd prefer to go to jail. I wouldn't be embarrassed in someone offering. I'd be embarrassed if I took it. There's a big difference. Very kind of people to offer, but I would refuse.
You've deep fried a bowl, and how did that work out for you, Monchichi?
Yeah, I know if you can release the tannins, and tannins don't disappear with age to a certain extent. They do over time, but the tannins make the timber a little bit vulnerable.
Dear.
Yeah, you probably would, VMAC. Probably be, well, this tastes good. Oh. But it's a gift being talented enough to either create something with your hands, paint, carve, sculpt. All those are dying arts, which is sad because in each and every one of us we've probably got the gift, but because we never do it, you'll never know. The creativity in each of us is there. I imagine that would do the job, Dave. Probably penetration would be quite deep. I know people got a lot of cast iron, but they do one fundamental error, and is they wash it in soap, like dishwashing liquid. I keep telling them, don't ever do that. Oh no, it's okay. No, it's not. Don't wash any cast iron in soapy water. Big mistake. A mate of mine always had a camp oven and cook all sorts of things up there. Then he'd get a stick and clean out all the gunk, and then he would heat the damn thing on open coals for about 2 hours, and very carefully take half a bucket of water and quickly splash it in there. He cleaned up everything. It was a really thick old cast, like one of them 3-prod, like a witch's cauldron, I suppose, those old types. It's just something. I used one tonight to cook a steak. You can cook a steak on anything you like, but cast iron, I don't know why. The sealing process is better. Cooking's a lot quicker, trust me. And it just gives it a difference. It's hard to explain what I'm saying. David would know what I'm saying. If you cook a steak on a grill or cook it in a fry pan, it's not the same as cooking it on cast iron. The grill probably comes second best. And people say, oh, well, you got a good grill. One is to cook long and slow. That's what cast iron was all about. The miners used to do it. The Chinese used to do it.
That's it.
Yeah. Cast irons. I've seen one that a mate of mine had that he got it red hot and put it in cold water. It's now a 3-piece fry pan. He said all he heard was doink.
Well, see, you cooked your steak tonight in your fry pan, but I don't touch the...
No, I do that.
I don't wash them up or anything. Seeds does all
I do
that
that.
with his fry
But
pan.
there's nothing to really clean because got a good seal on your cast, what
Yeah,
happens
I
is you
know.
cook
Yeah,
and there's a little bit of caramelization, just water.
I know. But
And
I
then,
don't.
then I wipe it dry, and
I
then I
don't,
oil it
yeah.
and heat it up a little bit. This is what people don't do. And heat it up a little bit. Again, you're not seasoning in it, you're just heating the pan. And just a bit of paper toweling with just a tiniest little bit of oil. Put it back in the cupboard. It's done. It's hard to explain what we're saying about cooking in a cast iron, a nice steak. It just does it justice, is probably what I'm saying. No, I've never cracked one. I've got a little old one, something about, I think you've got a lot of those little 6-inch with two little handles either side. And I've only used that a couple of times because it's too damn small for what I cook. But my grandmother used to use a cast iron pot, and it really was always slow cooking. And she explained to me that's what people generally did. They used their cast irons because you take a cast iron, big thick cast iron pot off the stove and just put it on a hard floor, it will keep cooking for 2 hours. I'm not joking. And it's such an even spread of temperature in cast iron. There's no hot spots or cold spots. I remember when I was a young bloke travelling around Australia, I used to use a hubcap, and I found a little round grill that fitted just over the top, and I would use charcoal. So I would get that started, then I'd go fishing or diving, muck around for a couple of hours, then I'd come back and I'd cook whatever I wanted on that little grill, hubcap grill, and that would keep hot for about 5 or 6 hours. And it was just so simple. Just a hubcap, had a little bit of a round knob that you just pushed into the sand. Brilliant. Yeah, you might have a lot of cast iron, Dave, but I would guarantee you'd have a handful of favourites. You know what I mean? A certain tool to do a certain job. Cast iron is also brilliant. Like if you've got a lot of people over and you've got the cast iron just heating up and it's getting hot, but you're not cooking with it. Things like your roast potatoes and things like sausages or maybe some chops. Just put it in the cast iron, you can put it on the side of the bench. It'll keep hot.
That reminds me.
It's like a warmer.
You have to season that little one you got for your birthday off him.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. My daughter gave me a little grill plate.
Oh, it's so cute.
Mainly presentation.
But to cook one meal in it, yeah.
Yeah, I could do. A lot of the older cast irons that I've seen in different shapes and sizes have nothing written on them. They were made in Australia, you know, they're 150, a couple hundred years old, some of them, but they didn't have like manufacturers to it. They were always made by blacksmiths most of the time.
Why is that number 13 or 13 inch? What's,
Number 13 skillet, it's a size.
oh, it's a numbered one or something, because you're saying it's rare.
But you do find them in odd spots, garage sale, some old farm, they're the best place to find them, old farm sales. Australians always have had, like Dutch ovens made out of cast iron. It was always to make bread or damper, which is sometimes better than bread, to be honest. But the art of cooking is being lost as well. The art of eating has taken its place. You know what I mean? Menu log, Uber Eats, pizza delivery. People come home from work, have a shower, they've already ordered, there's a knock on the door, your little bag. They don't cook anything. They just consume. Haven't got time. These same people will put that meal down, open up the laptop, and be on the internet for 5 hours. But they haven't got time to cook. Are you one of them? You know what I'm saying? These famous words. I don't have time. But I can live on the internet day and night, but I don't have time for a garden. I don't have time to feed the chickens. I don't have time to collect the eggs. I have no time to cook food. But they're on every social media that you can possibly imagine. So they've replaced the need to cook with the need just to consume. Oh, I love cooking. I think it's an expressive way of yourself, because if I got Dave and I got Ella and I got a few other people and we all had their own cooking stations and we were asked to cook the same thing, 100% guaranteed it'd be similar, but it wouldn't be the same. It's the individual behind the food that creates it, that makes it different. Like some people will say, oh, you've got to try this, and I'll hear it and think, I'm not putting the coriander in that, don't like coriander. So already the recipe's changed, and I think, oh, I'll add a bit more onion in that, some garlic, they did put garlic in there. For me, recipes are only an idea. But if there was 10 of us cooking the same meal, let's say a nice steak, some mushrooms, potatoes, and whatever. Now, we all put the plates down in front of each other after we'd... Well, I've often heard people saying, oh, you haven't followed the recipe. And I said, that's right. I don't follow recipes.
Well, that's one hell of a collection. That's like the guy we watched, David, the boss of the swamp. He's into cast iron and has got videos on his collection and how he cleans them. He collects them as well. I don't think he's got as many as you, though.
There's a story on every pan too. If you can imagine where it's been. Has it been in the goldfields in the 1800s, used by some Chinese guy cooking up a meal for the miners? Probably, but you'll never know. I just think it's like I don't know what you guys do, but I'll go into the kitchen and think mushrooms, carrots, a nice bit of steak there, and while I'm looking at the foods, I'm formulating what I'm going to cook. I even in the end know exactly what it's going to look like before I've even started. But that's a bit of an art form, looking and making something out of nothing, if you like. And I'm not saying the generations below us are lazy. I think they've just prioritised it at the bottom. Cooking's at the bottom. They work, they eat out a lot, they get food delivered. I know some people who do not even have a fridge because they would prefer just to keep buying food.
Well, that's a shame, Alan. My mum bought from Germany her mum's cast iron with her to Australia.
I've been meaning to show David that one.
Yeah, but that's packed in the boxes.
Yeah, I haven't got it. It's a little, very thin cast iron. Mind you, it's 120 years old. And it's got a tiny little bit of pitting in the bottom. It's got a nice little lid that goes on top, and it's no bigger than 8 inches across by about 3 inches high. And I've cooked some incredible meals in that.
And my sister got the fry pan. Hey, puss puss.
But it's 120 years old, and imagine what's been cooked in it for over 100 years. It's always been used. And she gave it to me because she knows I love cooking. And she said, I know you will use it. And that's how you give things to people that are relative to them.
Actually gave it to us both as a wedding present.
Yeah, but she knew I was the cook.
I cook.
Have you ever cooked anything in it?
Yes.
What did you cook?
I used to live with it, remember?
What did you cook in it? Come on.
Stews and stuff used to help Mum.
Ah, righto. But it's a beaut old little pot that has a great deal of intrinsic value to me. Dave, I'm sure you do the same thing I do. You're saying you stopped eating out. We do eat out, and I can't help myself. I'm thinking, I wouldn't have cooked that way. Do you know what I mean? I eat it, and I appreciate someone's gone to the effort to cook it for me. But I'm pretty particular in how I like my food. So you would do exactly the same thing. You go somewhere, pay $100 for a meal for the two of you, thinking it's okay. But we can't help but do that. If you have a love of cooking, You are going to be a critic. But I never say it when I'm there. I just say it to myself.
I'm going in to sort the grandson out.
All right. It's a special part of life, and it's the majority part of life, is eating, cooking, preparing, and if lucky enough, growing your own food. Like I say, eating out here, $100 would disappear for two of us. You wouldn't get a lot, but you'd get a good meal. It's a special gift. Two things. One, it is special because it has history. And two, it may inspire the person you're giving it to use the damn thing. I've got two daughter-in-laws, two of my sons that will always ask me. They'll phone me up and say, I'm at this stage, what do you think? And I say, well, taste it. And they go, oh yeah. And they go, and I say, what do you think? And they think, probably needs a bit more pepper. They don't really need to have phoned me, but they'll say the meat's not quite tender yet. And I said, okay, just lower the heat, take it down real low, put a lid on, and come back every 20 minutes and have a look. They just need that bit of reassurance. It's second nature when you know how to cook. I actually can get up off my arse, walk into the kitchen and know what I've been preparing is now ready, just on instinct alone, because I've done it so many times. I do like experimenting with new foods and new flavours. I'm not set in my ways with food, and I'm happy to try something different. But recipes, I tend, like I say, it's a guide. It's like a road sign saying that way. Might tell you how far and the next stop and that, but I just know it's that way. You know what I mean? So cooking for me is texture, definitely first of all flavour, and I don't really care if it doesn't look that special. But if it tastes fantastic, has great texture, and is very enjoyable, you're on a winner. And someone asked me about 4 or 5 years ago, one of the kids were watching a cooking show, and she said to me, the daughter said to me, what's your signature dish? I said, I don't have one. I like food, all food. I don't have a signature dish. But a lot of people, and I'm being critical, but a lot of people just want the food now. Not in 20 minutes, not in an hour, so not in 5 hours. They want it now. Okay. But the world has a lot to offer if you're willing to listen and try and do. It's exciting. When I watched one of my daughter-in-laws come round, and she was so impressed with my bread and butter pickles, and she said, is it easier to make? And I'm saying, well, it is, but it's got a lot of complex areas you've got to master. And she's coming around again. She wants to do it again and go through the process of cutting the cubes up, getting all the ingredients, and then learning the art of making a crispy pickle with enormous flavour. She's made a few attempts and it's been like, okay, but a bit soggy. She overcooked a certain part of the process, didn't add certain, like mustard seeds, she'd forgotten one. But they're hard and true, easy ones to do if you've got the knowledge. Yeah, I love old cookware. Australians probably, a lot of people say, oh, there's not a lot of stuff that old in Australia. There is, because a lot of the people that brought them with them had them for 100 years before they got here. Why? Because they're good. I know the Chinese in particular had a lot of cast iron in the mining and gold rushes we had. We've got grandkids, so they often say, can you take me? And we take them, and we get a burger, and I'll get a little burger, and I'll eat it, and I'll regret it later. My stomach feels heavy. Someone got some Kentucky Fried Chicken the other night, and what they done, because I know about cooking, is that whoever put the chicken into the broiler put it in while the oil was not hot enough. So this chicken was in a box, and we opened it. It was very dark. It was full and saturated of oil, and the chicken was dry. Why? Because putting that chicken into a broiler without the heat being a certain temperature means that it took longer to cook, so it soaked up all the oil and the chicken was dry. And that's why I don't like fast food, because you've only got basically kids or inexperienced people cooking a simple preparation badly. And I just don't like fast food. I've been guilty of picking up a salad, but yeah, no, I don't like hamburgers. I mean, I make a pretty mean hamburger, trust me. And I can make a hamburger for a good hamburger, about $2, bigger than what you buy, fresh homemade ground beef, onions, chilli, red onion. We eat beetroot in Australia. But you can, like I say, you can go out and you could go to a restaurant and have a meal, or go to a fast food place and have a meal. And if you're observant, you can go home and produce better at home. I think I told the story a few years ago. My son was just hungry at about 10:30 at night. He was about 20 at the time. He said, I might go and get a pizza. I said, is that right? I said, I can make you one. He said, no, I want to go and get one. There would have been 25 minutes. And I said, I'll guarantee you, when you get home, my pizza will be ready and yours will be going cold on the way home. He said, yeah, whatever. He shot off. And he said, I'm getting a meat lover. So I got pepperoni, sausage, you name it. I just made a pizza in 25 minutes. And he was about 30 minutes. He came home and I deliberately just left it in the oven, but turned the oven off, and I took it out, put it on the table. Mine was 14 inches across. His was like a 10-inch pizza. His cost about $7 and mine cost about $3. We ate my pizza first and he said, I'll eat mine tomorrow when it's cold. So I for the life of me, there's not a food that I've ever eaten out that I couldn't make at home and make it my way. That's the difference. If I say better, I mean I make it my way, and that's the difference. All right, I'm not sure what the time is here now, but we've got to put the young bloke to bed. I'll probably go and have a shower, and then hopefully we don't get a big storm. Or I'll be calling the insurance company. All right, guys, good to catch up with you. Great conversations, and I like listening to what you're talking to each other about as well. And I hope that I can get you some olive timber. That'll be interesting. But Monch, why don't you do a video when you got about half hour or 40 minutes to go on a bowl, and do it live stream. I reckon you get a lot of people that would be interested. I'll watch it. I just think it's interesting to see. I've seen it done many times, but watching the grain unfold and the shape that you're doing. Not telling you what to do, Monchichi, but you got the skill. A live stream like that, you might be pleasantly surprised by who would come along and watch. Have a good day. You're starting yours. Mine's about to end. We'll catch up another time. Be safe. Be kind to the kind people and crush the other mongrels. Have a good one. Bye-bye.